My friends, before we try to lead the world, before we try to fix people, before we try to change society, there is one person we often forget to lead: ourselves. And when we don't lead ourselves, life becomes a journey where we are always running, always reacting, always confused, always searching. Today, let's talk about the one leadership that changes everything. Lead yourself first. Every day we wake up surrounded by noise. Noise from the world, noise from people, noise from expectations, and most dangerously, noise from our own mind. And we keep wondering, why am I not moving forward? Why am I drained? Why do I feel stuck even when I'm doing so much? The truth is simple, yet powerful. Your life expands the moment your inner world aligns with your higher purpose. And that happens only when you begin to lead yourself first. Not your stress, not your fears, not your impulses, not the noise of society, but yourself, your thoughts, your responses, your habits, your daily progress, your silence, your discipline, your connection with the divine. Leadership is not about controlling others, it's about mastering the chaos inside you. Because when your inner world becomes peaceful, your outer world becomes clear. When your inner world becomes disciplined, your outer world becomes powerful. When your inner world becomes connected to God, your outer world becomes meaningful. So today, let us step into the journey of self-leadership, the kind that doesn't shout, but whispers, the kind that doesn't impress, but transforms, the kind that doesn't seek recognition, but creates direction. Today, let us learn how to lead ourselves first. When you wake up every morning, the first thing that greets you is not the sun, not your phone, not your family. It is your own mind. And if that mind is scattered, noisy, confused, or rushed, then the entire day becomes a battle against yourself. That is why leading your thoughts before they lead you is one of the most powerful acts of self-leadership. You see, the mind is like a river. If you let the river flow without direction, it can flood everything in its path. But when you guide it, channel it, and allow it to move with purpose, it becomes a source of life instead of chaos. Many people wake up and immediately let their thoughts race ahead of them. I'm late, I have so much to do. What if things go wrong? Why is life so stressful? And without even realizing it, their thoughts take control of their day before they even take their first step out of bed. A single negative thought can become a chain of negativity. A single fear can become a storm. A single insecurity can become a barrier. But a single conscious thought can also become a turning point. A single moment of awareness can become a breakthrough. A single decision to take charge can become a new beginning. Think of this. If you don't lead your thoughts will lead you into directions you never chose. Imagine someone sitting in a car with no driver, no destination, and no control over the steering wheel. That is exactly what happens when we don't guide our mind. And the truth is, most people don't realize they are allowing their mind to drive without a driver. They think they are stressed because life is difficult. But half the stress comes from the stories the mind keeps creating. A small inconvenience becomes a disaster. A small comment becomes an insult. A small delay becomes a failure. The mind can exaggerate, complicate, distort, and dramatize everything if left unchecked. But when you start leading your thoughts, something beautiful begins to happen. You respond instead of reacting. You breathe instead of panicking. You reflect instead of assuming. You choose instead of being pushed. You become the leader of your inner world. Let me give you a simple everyday example. Imagine you are stuck in traffic. You have two choices. One, you allow your thoughts to take over. Why does this always happen to me? People can't drive properly. I'm going to be late. My whole day is ruined. And within seconds, your mind spirals into frustration, anger, and helplessness. But the traffic did not ruin your day, your thoughts did. Second option, you lead your thoughts. You take a deep breath and tell yourself, I cannot control traffic, but I can control my response. Let me use this time to breathe, to reflect, to calm my energy, to reset my mind. In that moment, the traffic doesn't change, but you do. The situation stays the same, but your inner environment becomes peaceful. Life is not about controlling everything around you, it's about managing everything within you. That is real leadership. Another example, someone says something hurtful to you at work or home. You have two choices again. You allow the mind to run wild. Why did they say that? Maybe they don't respect me. Maybe I'm not good enough. I need to respond immediately. I need to prove myself. And suddenly, a small comment becomes a heavy emotional burden. But if you lead your thoughts, you pause and tell yourself, let me not respond from emotion. Let me understand what I feel. Let me stay rooted in my inner strength. And instantly you shift from reaction to reflection. You take back your power. The other person's words lose their hold over you. When you lead your thoughts, you don't get trapped in the interpretations your mind creates. You stay connected to your centered self. The mind is powerful, but it is also impressionable. It will believe whatever you tell it repeatedly. So if you constantly tell yourself you are overwhelmed, you will live like you are overwhelmed. If you tell yourself you are behind, you will feel behind. If you tell yourself you are not enough, you will shrink in your own life. But if you start your day telling yourself, I am grounded, I am capable, I am guided, I am growing, I am connected to something greater than my fears, your entire energy begins to align with strength. Your decisions become clear. Your reactions become calm. Your presence becomes powerful. Leading your thoughts is not about forcing positivity. It is about choosing awareness, choosing clarity, choosing direction. There will always be days when the mind tries to pull you into old patterns, old fears, old doubts, old wounds. But each time you bring your awareness back, you strengthen your inner leadership. Even if you do it imperfectly, it still counts. Every moment of awareness becomes a brick in the foundation of your inner strength. And over time, you begin to notice that things that used to disturb you no longer have the same impact. Conversations that used to drain you no longer affect you. Situations that used to shake you no longer break you. Because you have trained your mind to follow you, not control you. Silence is not the absence of sound, it is the absence of noise. Not the noise outside, but the noise inside. The noise of overthinking, the noise of comparison, the noise of doubt, the noise of fear, the noise of assumptions, the noise of what if. In a world where everyone is shouting to be heard, the greatest leaders are the ones who know how to listen. Listen not just to people, but to their own heart, their own intuition, their own inner compass, and the quiet guidance of the divine. Silence is not weakness, it is wisdom. Silence is not emptiness, it is clarity. Silence is not doing nothing, it is doing the most important thing, centering yourself before you act. Think about your daily life. How often do you rush into decisions, conversations, or conflicts without taking even a moment of silence? One small pause can save a relationship. One silent moment can prevent a mistake. One deep breath can stop an entire emotional storm. But we rarely give ourselves that gift. We move so fast that we forget we have an inner world that needs our attention. People think silence means being quiet on the outside. But true silence is when the heart becomes quiet, when the mind becomes still, when the soul becomes awake. It is in those silent moments that you hear your real answers. It is in silence that you recognize what actually matters. Take a simple real life example. Imagine you receive a text message that upsets you. Your instinct is to respond immediately, defend yourself, prove your point, explain your side. But in that rush, your emotions take over. Your mind becomes noisy. You start creating stories. They don't respect me. They misunderstood me. They are trying to hurt me. And before you know it, the noise inside you becomes louder than the reality outside. But imagine you do something different. You stay silent. Not silent in a cold way, but silent in a mindful way. You put the phone down. You breathe. You let the emotion settle. You allow the inner dust to fall. And when the mind becomes still again, you see the message differently. You respond with clarity, not chaos. You communicate with maturity, not impulse. You prevent conflict instead of creating it. That one moment of silence becomes an act of leadership, leading your emotions before they lead you. Another everyday example, you are in the middle of your day, overwhelmed with tasks, responsibilities, expectations. The mind keeps repeating, I have no time, I'm stressed, I'm drowning in work. The noise grows louder. And when the noise grows loud, your productivity falls. But try this, take a moment of silence. Close your eyes for 30 seconds. Place your hand on your heart. Breathe slowly. Remind yourself that you are guided, supported, and capable. In that small silent moment, your nervous system resets. Your clarity returns. Your priorities become clear. Silence gives you the strength to continue with wisdom instead of panic. The world didn't change, but you did. Silence also allows us to see our emotions without becoming them. When we suppress emotions, they become heavier. When we express them without reflection, they become hurtful. But when we observe them in silence, they become teachers. If you're angry, sit silently with the anger. If you're sad, sit silently with the sadness. If you're confused, sit silently with the confusion. Silence doesn't force anything. It reveals everything. It shows you why you feel what you feel. It shows you where the wound is. It shows you what needs to heal. And healing happens not through noise, but through awareness. Have you noticed how nature teaches us silence? A sunrise does not make noise while rising. A flower does not make noise while blooming. The ocean does not make noise while becoming vast. Greatness is always quiet. And the more spiritually connected you become, the more you will value silence. Because silence is where you hear the voice beyond your thoughts, the soft guidance of the divine. In the middle of chaos, uncertainty, or confusion, silence becomes a place of refuge. It becomes the doorway where you find answers you could never hear in noise. There are people who walk into a room and bring peace without saying anything. There are people who talk softly but leave a deep impact. There are people whose presence feels calming even before their words reach you. How do they become like that? Not by being loud, but by practicing silence. They have mastered their inner world. They think before they speak. They connect before they react. They pause before they decide. This self-mastery is built in silence, not in noise. Even in relationships, silence plays a powerful role. When two people sit together in comfortable silence, that is real connection. When there is no need to talk constantly, no pressure to impress, no fear of being misunderstood. That is where love grows. Silence creates space for trust. Silence deepens understanding. Silence strengthens bonds. And yet, we fear silence because we are afraid of facing ourselves. But the moment you stop fearing silence, You start understanding yourself at a level you never have before. The truth is, silence is a practice. It takes discipline to stay quiet when your ego wants to react. It takes humility to pause when your pride wants to respond. It takes inner strength to sit with yourself without distractions. But each time you do it, you rise a little higher. You become calmer, wiser, and more grounded. Your energy becomes steady. Your decisions become powerful. Your presence becomes peaceful. Silence becomes your superpower. And when you finally understand this, silence stops feeling like emptiness. It becomes the space where you meet yourself again. It becomes the space where you meet God. It becomes the space where the heart whispers what the mind could never shout. It becomes the space where your journey becomes clear. And in that moment, you realize that silence is not something you practice only in meditation. It is something you carry into your entire day, into your conversations, into your reactions, into your choices, into your leadership. Because a person who knows the value of silence becomes a person who leads life with clarity, depth, and grace. Energy is not something you have, it is something you create, something you protect, something you guide with awareness. Most people wake up and instantly hand their energy to the world. Comments, deadlines, opinions, expectations, notifications. By the time the day truly begins, they are already drained. But when you take responsibility for your energy, you discover that strength is not found in how much you do, but in how consciously you live. Your energy is your greatest asset. The world will take it if you don't guard it. And when your energy is centered, peaceful, and powerful, no situation can control you, no comment can shake you, and no person can drain you without your permission. Think about how often someone else's mood decides your mood. You walk into a room, and if someone looks upset, suddenly you become uneasy. If someone is irritated, you start feeling tense. If someone complains, you feel negative. Without realizing it, we allow people to plug into our emotional system. We absorb their frustration, their worries, their anxieties. But leadership begins when you consciously choose what energy enters your space. You don't have to match someone's anger. You don't have to mirror someone's negativity. You don't have to carry someone else's emotional storms. Your energy is yours. And when you take responsibility for it, you become the calm in the chaos, not another source of chaos. Here is a simple daily example. Imagine you wake up late, and the first thing you hear is someone telling you, "You're always late, you're so irresponsible." At that moment, you have two choices. One, you let their words control your energy for the rest of the day. You get irritated, defensive, insecure. Their comment becomes the seed of negativity that grows into frustration. But there is another choice. You pause, breathe, and remind yourself that their comment is their reaction, not your identity. You choose calmness over conflict. You choose stability over ego. You choose responsibility for your own energy instead of letting them define it. That one inner shift changes everything. The situation doesn't improve, but your energy does, and that is what determines how the rest of your day unfolds. Another example, you are at work and someone speaks harshly to you because they are stressed. Most people immediately absorb that stress and carry it all day. They replay the conversation, feel hurt, and think of replies they should have given. But if you take responsibility for your energy, you understand a deeper truth. Not everything people do is because of you. Sometimes their mood is a reflection of their own battles. And instead of reacting, you respond with maturity. You tell yourself, "I will not let this affect my inner balance." That simple awareness protects your energy from being dragged into someone else's emotional storm. Energy responsibility also shows up in how we talk to ourselves. Many people drain their own energy without even realizing it. They say things like, I'm tired, I'm failing, I can't handle this, I'm unlucky. And the mind listens, the body listens, the heart listens. You weaken yourself with your own thoughts. But imagine waking up and telling yourself, I am capable, I am grounded, I am growing, I am supported by a higher power. Your energy suddenly rises, your posture changes, your decisions improve. You create an inner environment that empowers you instead of exhausting you. We often blame situations for our exhaustion, but sometimes it is not the situation, it is the way we use our energy. Worry drains energy, overthinking drains energy, trying to please everyone drains energy, reacting instantly drains energy. But awareness restores energy, boundaries protect energy, mindfulness improves energy, silence strengthens energy, and choosing what deserves your attention magnifies your energy. Think of your energy like a phone battery. When your battery is low, even a simple app slows down your phone. But when your battery is full, everything works smoothly. In the same way, when your energy is low, small issues feel big. A minor inconvenience becomes a crisis. A simple decision feels confusing. But when your energy is strong, you handle challenges with clarity and calmness. Your life doesn't become easier, you become stronger. Taking responsibility for your energy also means noticing what drains you without blaming others. Sometimes certain conversations leave you exhausted. Sometimes certain habits make you feel heavy. Sometimes certain environments weaken you. And the moment you become aware of these patterns, you stop running from life and start managing life. You become intentional with your time, your words, your responses, your relationships, your routines. And the most powerful transformation happens when you connect your energy to a higher purpose. When you remember that you are not alone, that something greater is guiding you, supporting you, strengthening you. In every moment of stress, you can return to that connection and recharge your energy from a source that never runs out. People may drain you, situations may challenge you, but the divine will always refill you. The truth is, you cannot lead yourself if you cannot lead your energy. And you cannot lead your energy if you are constantly giving it away to people, emotions, situations, and thoughts that don't deserve it. But the moment you choose to take responsibility for your energy, you become the kind of person who walks into a room and changes the atmosphere with your calmness. You become the person whose presence feels comforting, grounding, inspiring. You become the person who doesn't react to life but responds with grace. Your energy is your power. Protect it, guide it, cherish it. And when your inner energy becomes strong and steady, your entire life becomes strong and steady. You become unstoppable, not because of force, but because of alignment. Not because of loudness, but because of inner strength. Not because of control, but because of consciousness. Reaction is the easiest thing in the world. It takes no strength, no wisdom, no awareness. It is automatic. Someone says something harsh, you respond harshly. Something doesn't go your way, you get irritated. A plan fails, you panic. But responding is different. Responding comes from clarity, from maturity, from emotional intelligence, and from inner steadiness. Reaction comes from impulse, response comes from intention. Reaction is fast but blind, response is calm but powerful. And the moment you shift from reacting to responding, your entire life begins to change. Your relationships, your decisions, your peace, your sense of control. Because when you react, life leads you. But when you respond, you lead life. Reaction happens when the mind is full of noise. Response happens when the mind is full of awareness. Reaction is like throwing a matchstick into a room full of gasoline. You create more fire. Response is like lighting a candle in a dark room. You create more light. And the truth is, most of the problems we face in life are not created by circumstances, but by our reactions to those circumstances. A small issue becomes a big complication because we reacted without thinking. A minor misunderstanding becomes a major argument because we reacted without pausing. A simple mistake becomes a heavy regret because we reacted without clarity. Imagine a daily example. You're at home and you accidentally spill a glass of water. Immediately, someone in the house gets irritated and says, "You're always so careless." In that moment, your ego wakes up and pushes you to react. "Why are you talking to me like that? You always blame me. You're the careless one." And suddenly, a small spill becomes a big emotional fight. Not because of the water, but because of the reaction. Now imagine responding instead. You hear the comment, you pause, you breathe, you stay centered. You remind yourself, this moment doesn't need my anger, it needs my clarity. And you say calmly, "It was a mistake. Let me clean it up. There's no need to fight." In that moment, you lead the situation instead of the situation leading you. You bring peace instead of more chaos. You choose maturity over ego. The spill did not change, but your inner world did. Another example, you're driving and someone cuts you off suddenly. If you react, you get angry. You shout, you honk, you let their impatience ruin your peace. But if you respond, you tell yourself, maybe they're rushing for a reason I don't know. My peace is more valuable than this moment. And you let it go, not because you are weak, but because you are wise. Because you understand that protecting your peace is more important than protecting your pride. Reaction burns your energy, response preserves it. Reactions are temporary, but their consequences are often long-lasting. Words spoken in reaction can break relationships. Decisions made in reaction can create regrets. Actions taken in reaction can lead to mistakes. But when you respond, you create results that align with your values, your purpose, and your truth. You don't let the moment control you. You control your presence within the moment. The beauty of responding is that it teaches you self-leadership. It trains your mind to pause when your ego wants to explode. It teaches your heart to stay steady when your emotions want to erupt. It helps your soul stay connected to its purpose when the world tests your patience. And this pause, this gentle, mindful pause, is the difference between a peaceful life and a stressful life. Consider how responding changes relationships. When two people react, the relationship becomes a battleground. When one person responds, the relationship becomes a place of healing. Imagine a friend says something hurtful. If you react, you attack back. If you respond, you reflect. You ask yourself, why did they say that? Are they stressed? Are they hurting? Are they projecting their own pain? And suddenly, instead of reacting from your wound, you respond from your wisdom. And you say, if something is bothering you, we can talk. I'm here to understand, not fight. That response can heal something that reaction would have destroyed. But responding is not always easy. It requires practice. It requires awareness. It requires the willingness to choose peace over pride, clarity over chaos, and wisdom over impulse. Every single day, life will give you opportunities to react. Traffic, delays, misunderstandings, disagreements, stress, unexpected changes. But these are not problems, they are tests. Tests of your self-mastery. Tests of your emotional strength. tests of your spiritual growth. Each time you choose to respond instead of reacting, you pass the test. You become stronger within. One simple practice is to pause before you answer. Even 1 second of awareness is enough to shift your energy. Another practice is to breathe deeply when emotions rise. And another is to ask yourself, will this matter tomorrow? Will this matter a year from now? Is this worth losing my inner peace? These simple reflections help you shift from reaction to response effortlessly. And the highest form of responding comes when you stay connected to the divine. When you allow a higher wisdom to guide your thoughts, your emotions, and your choices. In that connection, your ego becomes quiet, your heart becomes wiser, and your decisions become more aligned. You don't respond from fear, you respond from faith. You don't respond from confusion, you respond from clarity. You don't respond from impulse, you respond from your soul. Responding is not just a habit, it is a lifestyle. It is a way of living that protects your peace, preserves your energy, strengthens your relationships, and elevates your character. When you learn to respond instead of reacting, you become someone who can handle life with calmness, grace, and dignity. You become someone who influences the world without being controlled by it. You become someone who leads themselves first, and that is the beginning of true leadership.